If I can apply to the company myself, why should I let you represent me? Do not give me the recruiter sales pitch. Tell me what actually gets better for me.
Right. I think it's a case by case situation, right? There are situations where you should probably apply by yourself, and there are situations where, as a recruiter, I can bring in a lot of value. So I'll try to kind of talk a little bit about certain value aspects that I believe are the most interesting ones and important ones, and that probably candidates tend to overlook, right? So also note that everything that I say, it's not like industry standard, right? There's all types of recruiters out there. Some are great, some are not that great. They're not bad humans, but they're just maybe shit at their jobs, right? And so everything that I say also is, from my perspective, what I believe is the value that I can offer, right? It doesn't mean it's perfect. And it also doesn't mean that I have the relationships each time with each company I represent optimized in order to give all that value, if that makes sense, right? So long story short being, I'm not perfect and all I do is really my best. But I think that what I will try to share with you right now is, the value that I can create and that might be overlooked, right? So the first thing that I might be able to do, the first thing that I do when you work with someone like myself is that I'm not just going to introduce you to one company, right? What I really try to do is to create, I guess, a market around you. Like, my goal is to make sure that if a company looks at you, they're also understanding that the market is looking at you, so that they compare you against, in a competitive mindset, right? If we hire this person, we should hire him not just because he's extremely valuable to our company, but also because, another company that we're competing with in terms of the talent war out there is interested in that candidate, so to speak. So what I try to really do is have a macro judgment on your profile instead of just a micro. So if you apply by yourself, what you really do is you go to a company, you send your CV, and that company looks at you, and because things are overall busy and it's not really easy to get interviews in general, you might get maybe 1-2 interviews, and so basically only 2 companies are looking at you. What I really do is I ask you, what you care about, what you're interested in, what you have to bring to the table, and what you want to do next, right? And then I start contacting every company I can in my specific specialized market, which is like the deep tech startup ecosystem here in Japan. And I contact literally as many companies as I can, explaining that you're currently on the market looking to talk with interesting companies. And as soon as one company is interested, it becomes a lot easier for me to make your profile look attractive, because there are companies that will literally just interview you because you're interviewing with one of their competitors. So I have this ability to create this market around you and really make sure that you're being evaluated from a macro perspective instead of just a micro perspective, if that makes sense.
Okay, but on the comp side, be honest. Doesn't your fee create pressure against my offer or anchor things lower?
Right. So I think if you apply with me, absolutely, look, the company will look at you and be like, okay, we need to pay right away a recruitment fee for you if they hire you. And so that might create some kind of pressure on the company that considers hiring you. And this is actually why I highly recommend people with less than 3 years of experience to usually not apply with a recruiter, because the company will look at you like, oh, we also have to train this person, and on top of that we also have to pay the cost of a recruiter. And so there's often situations where I will introduce you just as a friend and not as a financial stakeholder, so to speak. But to go back a little bit to the value that we create, right? One other thing that is probably something that people don't understand is that if you apply for a job, like through a job board, or you're now among 1,000 other applicants, let's say, that have polished and used AI to I guess tailor their CV against a job description, right? So everyone looks great and polished in this type of flat applications. What happens is that companies pay me to eliminate the noise, meaning that if I present your CV to that company, they will consider your CV probably way before they go through this pile of 1,000 applicants, if that makes sense. And so that's, I guess I can access eyeballs faster and in a more kind of guaranteed way on your profile. I also control the narrative, right? I can kind of explain certain things on your CV that might not be clear. I can also make sure that they understand that, okay, this candidate is currently interested in what you guys do for XYZ reason, and another company is interested in his skills for XYZ reason. So I created this kind of connection that you guys should probably be interested in him. When can you meet, right? At the end of the day, I'm selling your profile. And so that's another big advantage. Another thing that I think candidates tend to maybe undervalue is the ability for me to help you prepare for interviews in a way that, look, I do this for a living. I help people get jobs, right? And so I know what people tend to ignore or forget when it comes to preparing really well for an interview. I know I have, I'm not pretending to be the smartest guy ever, but when it comes to my skill set, I have this ability to know how to sell myself, and I can kind of help you sell yourself as well, right? Which tends to be something hard for people to do, because at the end of the day, how many times have you really done that in your life? Like, I spend my day since the past 10 years as a salesperson selling myself every single day. So there's like this skill set that I bring to the table to help you really prepare for your interviews. And I'm not just going to help you prepare, in a vacuum, right? I prepare you with the full context of like thousands of applicants that I have helped in the past. And also, I collect a lot of feedback from previous candidates. I talk to my customers all the time about what makes a great candidate, what makes them reject a specific candidate. So there's just so much context that I bring to the table for you to really prepare, again, with a wider lens than just this micro lens towards preparing for one specific job, if that makes sense. The other thing, and you mentioned it, is speed, right? I bring in, I'm fast. Like, I'm not the best recruiter out there, but I think I'm one of the fastest. Like, I get people jobs sometimes in 2-3 weeks, right? And because I chase for feedback all the time, it's literally one of the things that I keep doing, and I'm not afraid to call people. In this day and age, most people rely fully on email. I'm still very old school, where I'm sorry to the people I bother calling them all the time, but I do call people a lot. And I push for feedback. I try to always understand like what's behind the feedback. And the process will move a lot faster, and I can use that momentum again to create scarcity and to kind of leverage that in order to get you more, more offers and better offers in general. So that's another big thing. It's, as a salesperson, I'm incentivized to make things move faster, if that makes sense.
All right, I hear you. Let me push once more.
Yeah.
Incentives. How do I know you're not prioritizing the client relationship or a quick close over my long-term outcome?
Right. There's no way for you to really know and to ever feel assured on that, because at the end of the day, I am incentivized to get you a job, and getting you a job or getting you the best job. Like, I made another video about this where I talk about the trust of judgment on, where you should trust a recruiter or not. And my take on this is that I'm incentivized for you to take a job through me, right? And that's how I get paid. I think the final decision whether this job is the best fit for you or not always should go back to your judgment. What I help you do through the preparation is to kind of really spot whether or not this job is a match for you. Now, am I prioritizing jobs that are easier to fill? Absolutely. I'm running a business. And so, at the end of the day, but you can look at it that way, right? Jobs that are very hard to fill, they tend to be hard to fill for reasons that are, maybe not necessarily obvious for a candidate, but they're hard to fill because usually they can't find the right person. Maybe the job is not attractive. Maybe there's like some hidden stuff there where, the company has failed several times to hire someone. They hired, fired, and eventually like they really struggle because they don't really know what they want. So a job being hard to fill usually tends to also show some signals, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, what I try to do and the value that I bring is really allowing you to make the best decision for yourself. Like, I'm not in your shoes, and I'm not the one who will have to get up in the morning to do the job. So yeah, my answer really tends to be, you should not rely on me when it comes to making the decision whether or not this is a good matching job, right?
So your answer is basically watch the incentives, but use the leverage.
Yeah, exactly. That's really the value that I bring, right? At the end of the day, I'm a stakeholder in this. I win if you get a job through me, and I win more money if I get you more money, right? So we have aligned incentives, but it doesn't mean you should fully rely on those to make your own personal decision and judgment. Like we are just basically aligned, but not 100% aligned, if that makes sense. And look, at the end of the day, what I also offer is, I have negotiation skills. And I think what people hear when we talk about negotiation skills is like, well, I'm just going to keep pushing harder for more money. But at the end of the day, the way I look at negotiation skills is I've done this. Over my career, I placed more than 150 people at this point. Like I went through probably 300 offers, so to speak, like, or offer discussions and what's not, and negotiations and what's not. And so the way I look at it is I have collected so much experience and perspective on what's possible and what's not that there's no way for you as a single job hunter, job applicant, to 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 have that type of perspective and leverage when it comes to negotiating, right? So what I'm trying to say really is that because I have all this experience and because I know a lot of people in this market and I've seen a lot of scenarios, I'm able to kind of make you benefit of that baggage, so to speak, allowing you again in the, in the end to make a better decision and judgment for yourself, right? This is really what I'm trying to do. I'm not there to make a decision for you. What I try to do is utilize everything that I have accumulated in order to allow you to make the right decision for yourself. Because if you make the right decision for yourself, you stay long term and everyone is happy. And I get paid, of course, as well, right? So
Yeah, it makes sense. I get a better offer somewhere else. Are you still in my corner or does it get awkward?
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't claim to be happy if you take an offer somewhere else that I don't represent, but at the end of the day, this is a long term game. And if you go somewhere else and you were truly valuing what I've done, I genuinely believe that, I still can benefit from our relationship, right? So I will not be angry. The reality is, I will just tell you, like, hey, no hard feelings. You make the right decision for yourself. And I respect people who can kind of go against, specific, like certain offers. So there's no hard feelings. I'm not taking this personally. Like, I will be a madman to take it personally. Am I
Mm.
hurt? Yeah, sure, but that's not your problem. It doesn't matter. And what I will try to do in that kind of scenario is probably ask you to, refer me to your next company if I don't happen to already work with them. And maybe I'll ask you if you have some ex-colleagues or current colleagues that might be interested in the job. So look, at the end of the day, I do a networking job and I connect the dots, right? And I can't win all the time, but creating value, I can do it all the time, so to speak. And so yeah, I'm gonna be disappointed. I might need to breathe 10 seconds to be like, damn it, I lost this deal. But this is never personal. It's business.
Mm. Yeah, okay, that's candid. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, one more. How do you handle it if I want to slow things down, even when you're pushing for speed?
Right. Um, what kind of scenario would you want things to slow down? Can you give me a concrete example?
Like maybe I'm still interviewing elsewhere, or I need time to talk with my family, or I'm just not ready to move fast.
Yeah. Um, hmm. I think this is one thing that I will tell you to be cautious about recruiters in general, myself included. We make money usually from momentum. When you're kind of starting to consider to move, it's not in my interest to have you think too much about this stuff. And so if you ask me to slow down, I will absolutely do it. But I will definitely try to use every argument I possibly can to not have you slow down. Because the more you're going to think, the more things get usually complicated as well. Like if a company is interested in you, they want to hire you now. They want to hire you in 6 months. And so, I would say that if you want me to slow things down, I will absolutely do it. The reality is, when we start working together, I try to make it extremely clear on where you're standing in terms of your timelines, where your other applications are, and I try to be as transparent as possible with my clients so that everyone is aligned. So that if we start an interview process, but you're like, "Hey, I'm only ready to move in 3 months," if that's been clear from the beginning, no problem. But if you kind of change the situation mid process, that becomes a little bit more tricky because I have to kind of go back on what I communicated to the client as well. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but at the end of the day, you remain in control, right? I'm just gonna push you into another job.
Yeah, that answers it. I mean, it's a bit uncomfortable, but honest. That's helpful.
Yeah. And look, as I mentioned, there are scenarios where I absolutely recommend people to apply by themselves. If you have less than 3 years of experience, I usually will tend to tell people apply by yourself because companies will look at you as like you're not really worth paying a recruitment fee for, because they also have to train you up a little bit more. You know, there's a little bit more time for onboarding, and they pay me for people who are highly experienced. So in that type of scenario, I'm still going to help you. I'm still going to kind of push your resume forward to the people that I know in those companies to get you better edge. But I'm not going to be a stakeholder, financially speaking. And people tend to ask me then, like, why on earth would I do this, right? I'm not a stakeholder. I'm not going to make money if you get the job. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is a very long-term game for me, right? Like, let's say you have 3 years of experience today. I get you a job. Like, I connect you with that company. They hire you. Everyone is happy, but I'm not getting paid. Why am I doing this? It's not because I'm a good human. Like, I like to think that I'm a good human, but this is not something I do of kindness of my heart. It's still business. And the way I look at this is like, if I help you get a job today, you will remember this. You will probably, after 2, 3 years, be on the market again for your next job. You will contact me because you will remember what I did last time. And so, I will work with you for that next job search, right? And you might also refer friends to me, but for example. And the other thing is also like the company that I introduced you to for free. Hopefully they're happy with your performance, and they will remember those things as well. I might get like an extra job to work on later down the line. Or so what I'm trying to say is that one of the reasons I wanted to build up my own company is because I have this ability to do so much stuff for free. When you work in a big agency, you're constantly pressured to kind of make money because you have so much overhead to pay for, and you can't really think long term because your compensation scheme is also kind of cramped into like a quarterly basis. I'm not doing my work that way. Like, I'm thinking in 10 years scale, right? So everything that I do is based on building up my network, my reputation in the market, and creating as much value as I possibly can. And so that's what will be one scenario where I recommend you to apply for yourself. Another scenario might be if you come to me and you're asking for way more money than this company can afford. I will probably sometimes just say, "Hey, look, if I represent you, they will look at your salary expectations. They'll get scared right away. So if you apply through me as a stakeholder, they will look also at the recruitment fee that will be crazy high. Your chances are going to get down. So let me just introduce you as a friend." That tends to be for very senior people. And again, why do I do this? If you enter this company, you will probably be involved in hiring, and you and I can work together. And the reason I'm sharing all this stuff is, again, one of the things that I hate when it comes to how recruiters tend to create like their own marketing, what's not. Everyone seems to be so genuine and nice, but at the end of the day, it's a business. Okay, I love helping people, but helping people is a byproduct of what I'm truly building. I'm building a network and a reputation that I can then make money from. The great thing about having my own business is I can think so much long term, and I don't have to capitalize on 100% of my interactions. Definitely going on a tangent here, but I think it's important for me to share those things because it gives more context on why I do things. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, that's all for now. I mean, I've got enough to think about.
Yeah. If there are other things that you feel like, as a candidate, I should bring in value wise. I'm sure I only kind of covered half of what I really can do. But at the end of the day, what I can tell to people as well is that if they do not see the value that I bring in and they feel highly confident that they're better off without a recruiter, by all means, go for it. But I recommend you to always ask a recruiter, like, why should I work with you? What do you bring to the table that I can't have? Because look, based on everything that I just mentioned, right? The aligned incentives, like I make money if I help you get the job. I I make, it's better for me to make things move fast. It's better for me to have you have as many options as possible so that I increase my odds to kind of, you pick a job that I represent. It's like there's just so many things that I'm like, why would you not want to work with someone highly specialized like me? Like have someone like me at your side. How does that not increase your odds, right? That's kind of the way I personally will look at it. Like if I go in the market tomorrow and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a job, I will look for a good recruiter to be on my side because I have nothing to pay him anyway. It's just a matter of you making sure you work with a good recruiter. And a final thing, I'm not claiming to be the best recruiter possible. Like I'm not. Like absolutely not. The reality is, like, I'm a money-driven guy. I have 2 kids to feed. I'm very ambitious in what I do. And at the end of the day, I try to be as neutral and transactional as possible, where I share with you everything so that you can make your own judgment. Okay. I don't want to make decisions for you. Like I don't want to do that. So my strategy from day one when it came to getting into recruitment has been to be highly transactional. And you will have 2 types of recruiters: those who claim to be highly relationship based, and those who claim to be, like me, extremely transactional. I don't want to leverage relationships because I feel like that's unfair. I'd rather be extremely transactional because I'm not going to be the one who has to wake up in the morning and do your job. I'm not the one walking into your shoes. And I'm not the one who will have to kind of live with salary X or salary Y. So I try to be as transparent as possible. This is also why I create this type of content. But anyway, if you're into the deep tech market, you're into robotics, AI, and the space industry here in Japan, you're highly interested in startups, reach out to me if you feel like I'm the right guy to have a chat with. If you feel like I'm not, and this type of recruitment is not at all what you're interested in, I'm really happy to get to that conclusion as well. Like, I will never force anyone to work with me if they don't see any value to it. Anyway, cheers. See you in the next episode. Thank you.